let's go ahead and take a look and see how we're able to override an MVC action command. Before we do though, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup, collapse some of my projects over here, closing some of the tabs. I'll even clear the console here just so that we have a clean environment. Making a couple checks, making sure my server is started. Now let's go ahead and create our MVC action command. We've done this many times. We'll start off by clicking File, File, New, Liferay Module Project. And then from here, we have to give our module project a name. Let's keep it simple. We'll call it MVC command override. So MVC command override. Now from here, again, you can use a number of different project templates since there's technically not one for our MVC action command override. So some people like to use activator, some people like to use API, but for me, when I'm creating a component, I always like to use service. So we're going to be creating a MVC action command component. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and I'm going to select service. From here, go ahead and click next. We need to give our component a specific name. So we're going to be overriding the MVC action command for the document library. So the documents in media. So we'll call this doc.lib MVC action command. All right. Got to give this a package name. So let's call this com Liferay training MVC command override. We can leave that as one word. You can break it up if you want as well. Completely up to you. And again, here with the service, we're going to be selecting an interface. So we'll click on the browse button and we'll use star dot. Now, gut impulse might tell us, hey, we know what to extend. We can extend base MVC action. So if I start typing base, you'll see that there is no base. So no base MVC action command. Instead, we can just look for the MVC action command itself. And then we can do a little bit of touch up to the component. So let's go ahead and click OK. And we also have the opportunity to specify some properties as well. So if we were doing this in real life, we would know which portlets we are specifically listening to. We would take the time to look through source code to find the names of the portlets that we want to listen to. And from there, since we're overriding a specific MVC action command, we would also look for the parameter to listen for as well. So we would have all of that knowledge coming into this project. Again, since we're doing this through a training, right, we're kind of providing that knowledge here as we discuss. So we're going to be listening for 3 different portlets. So we're going to be listening to the doc library. We're going to be listening to the doc library, but in the admin console. And we're also going to be listening to the media gallery as well. So with those 3 portlets in mind, we can go ahead and specify the property right now. So again, the property for listening for portlets is just the name, javax.portlet.name. And we know that in Liferay, we abstract the names of portlets out into their own class. And so the name of the class is DL portlet keys. And then we would look this up and we would see document underscore library in all caps. All right, so that'll be the first property. We got a couple more here. So javax.portlet.name and then DL portlet keys once again, and then document underscore library underscore admin. Right, and if this is going a little bit fast, feel free to pause, but we'll also see the property once we create the component annotation when we click finish. So if you want to add it later, that's perfectly fine as well. So one more portlet we're going to be listening for, javax.portlet.name, DL, not all caps there, DL portlet keys dot, this is the media gallery. So media underscore gallery, and technically it's going to be displaying, or the media gallery display. So those are going to be the three properties we're going to be listening for, or three portlets. And then we're listening for a specific parameter. That parameter is known as an MVC command name. So MVC command name. And then the value is something we would have looked up. In this case, we're going to be overriding the property document library / edit underscore folder. All right, I'll hit enter one last time, and then we'll click finish. And again, if this was a little bit fast, we'll also catch it in the property annotation, or feel free to pause the video. So we're going to wait for Liferay workspace to create the project for us, right? Create the properties within, the component annotation, and so on. Almost there, almost there. You can see the progress over at the bottom right down there. So pretty close. All right, we see the project is created here on the left-hand side. The wizard has finished adding the project to the workspace, and all done. So let's go ahead and we're going to take a peek in the class itself. So let's head over to the MVC command, open up the source main Java, open up the package, and then let's take a look at the class. All right, so the formatting might not be the most ideal, but that's okay. And so in documentation, we say instead of implementing the interface, we're going to be extending a base class. So first thing we're going to do inside of this Java class is let's go ahead and change implements to extends. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and add the base here. So adding base to MVC action command. And then we have the error there. We just need to bring in the necessary import. So let's go ahead and use Control-Shift-O as in Oscar to bring in the class base MVC action command. Now from here, what we're going to need to do is implement the doProcessAction method. But before we do, let me go ahead and save really quick. And we're going to head over to the build.gradle. And so let's take a look at the build.gradle just to make sure our dependencies are right. So again, because of the version of Liferay Developer Studio that I'm currently using, right now the dependency is on a outdated or previous version. And so by the time this is released, by the time you watch this, the simple fix is just to change the 2 to a 3. But for now, to keep consistency and to preserve the dependencies that Liferay is already using, we're going to be referencing the portal kernel that's already inside of Liferay. And so we've already done this quite a number of times, but hey, let's go ahead and do it one more time. If you remember the command, if you've been typing it out, it might be muscle memory by now. If you need to copy and paste it from another build.gradle, feel free to do that as well. This time around, I'll go ahead and type it. So this is a compile time dependency, right? This file, this jar will already exist within the runtime. So // let me close it before I forget. // going to be over in the bundles folder, right? And then from bundles, we have Tomcat. The version we're using is 9.0.6. Over in the global class loader, which is lib/ext. And then we're honing in or targeting a specific file. This is our portal kernel.jar. Again, I'm sure you guys know the rule of thumb by now. So go ahead and perform your Gradle refresh. Right, again, for me, out of paranoia, out of being burned so many times by typing the wrong dependencies, I'm always going to open up my project external dependencies to take a look. So we see it is targeting my portal kernel, all good there. As a preemptive, we are using an MVC action command, so we know this is going to be dealing with portlets in one way or another. So I'm going to go ahead and add the portlet dependency here as well. And again, in real life, I would probably just have this ready to copy and paste and just throw in the dependency. But it doesn't hurt to get a little bit of typing practice. So have a dependency on the portlet API. So the name here is just that, portlet API. And then the version number, we're going to be referring to the most up-to-date in this situation, 3.0.0. And then more often than not, we're also going to have a dependency on the servlet API as well. Right? You'll see kind of the portlet has a dependency on servlet, so we got to bring in the servlet as well. Okay, javax dot servlet dash API. Okay, and then the version number here is one minor version above our portlet spec, 3.0.1. I'll go ahead and save, and remember to save, and our golden rule of backend developer, always do the Gradle refresh after we update the build.gradle. So we see in my project and external dependencies, a lot of dependencies have been brought in. So very good, very good. Right, if you want to, you can go ahead and head over to the bnd.bnd file. You can make some changes and some modifications there to make our lives a little bit easier when we're trying to look for this bundle. Again, for me, I'm going to be a little bit more risky and leave that alone. But let's head over to the MVC action command class. So back over here at the MVC action command class, we're going to go ahead and hover our mouse cursor over the class name, and we're going to go ahead and add our unimplemented method for the due process action. Now, this is all fine and dandy the way it is, but for me, I don't particularly like to see arg0 and arg1. We are not pirates. So let's call these what they really are. Right. So if you want to call it the action request object, you can. If you just want to call it the request object, that's perfectly fine as well. So I'll call it the action request object, and then the other one will be the action response object. Right, just in case we need to use those, we don't want to refer to them as arg0 and arg1. All right, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be overriding a specific MVC action command. And I'm sure you already know that. And again, most of the time when we're trying to override something in Liferay, unless we have a very, very different way of doing things and we account for what Liferay is doing, most of the time we're going to be referring to the original implementation. So the idea would be do something extra and then call the original, or vice versa. Do the original and then we do a little something extra. And so to be able to call the original MVC action command, we're going to be asking the OSGI service registry for a reference of the original implementation of this MVC action that's called when the parameter doc library edit folder is invoked. All right, so again, the long story short is we still want to be able to call the original MVC action command to account for anything that we may either forget or just don't know about. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to create the object, right? It's going to be an MVC action command, right? And then we can call the object here the same, MVC or underscore MVC action command. Again, let's add our OSGI flare to ask the service registry for a reference of an MVC action command. Now, right now, as is, the question would be, well, which MVC action command are we asking the service registry for? right? There are so many of them out there. If we left it like this, we are at the mercy of the OSGI container to pick one for us. And in this situation, that's not a good idea. That's not what we're trying to do. So we learned a couple different ways that we can remedy this. And one of them is using the target property. So I'm going to go ahead and use target, and we're going to be targeting the component for the original implementation. And so we would have to go a little bit behind the scenes, look through source code, and find the original MVC action command that we're overriding. I just chuckled there because the whole tabs versus spaces thing. So anyways, let's not get into those kind of debates. So we're going to be targeting the original MVC action command. So we're going to be targeting the component, and the name of the component is going to be com Liferay document library web internal portlet action, and then it's going to be called edit folder MVC action command. So got a little bit of a typo there. Can make this a little bit bigger. Let's see if I can drop this down in a nice way. I don't think so, but we can try. Doesn't hurt to try. Yeah, doesn't look nice, but kind of have to work with what we got there. Have the error at the @ reference, so I'll go ahead and use Control-Shift-O. And again, feel free to pause the video if you still need to type out that component name. It's pretty long, so let me do a little bit of check here just to make sure that I spelled things correctly. I'm not the greatest speller, so this is always one of the scary parts for me. So component name looks good to me. Hopefully not. If it's not, I can imagine you guys yelling at your monitors, oh, the typo is there. But anyways, so we're gonna make a very simple modification here. It's not gonna be anything too mind-blowing or paradigm shifting or anything like that. But again, we are getting the foundation of how to do this. So we're just going to print a very simple statement here. So we're going to have a string, and let's call that string command. And then we're going to get this command string as a parameter. So using the param util helper class, and we're going to get a specific string. And we're going to get this from the portlet request. So we're going to be honing in on the action request object. So from the action request object, what parameter are we going to be getting? What string? And let's call this constants.cmd. So there is a specific constant that Liferay is accommodating for. Right, remembering the semicolon at the end, and we're going to go ahead and print out that constant. So print ln. Right, so something simple, cmd equals space, and then the actual string here, cmd. Right, feel free to enter whatever it is that you would like. And then after we go through our modification, in this situation we want to call the original MVC action command. So MVC action command, and then we're going to call the process action to it. All the while passing in our action request and our action response. Again, just in case we did some funny things to it, or it might still have some parameters that is going to be needed in the original. All right, let's go ahead and save, and then last but not least, let's deploy. So let's head over to the Gradle tasks. I'm going to minimize or shrink down my Java class there, and this is called MVC command override. So we're going to look for MVC command override in our Gradle tasks. We have a lot of Gradle projects here, so just trying to find the one that I created. Again, one of the hard parts here of doing this as a video is I don't have your help, right? So oftentimes when I do the online trainings, people will let me know it's right there. But I did find it. It was closer to the top. So MVC command override, build, followed by deploy. So we'll double click deploy. We'll wait for it to deploy, or at least finish deploying, and then we'll test this out. So almost there, almost there. Cool, we get the notification in the console letting us know that it has started, so very good. I'll head back over to my instance of Liferay. Right, we got logged out, sent over here to learn.liferay.com, and if you haven't done so already, check it out. Right, see what topics, what videos might be of interest to you. Right, maybe you're more interested in the front end. We do have a little bit of content there, or maybe you're interested in mobile development, whatever the case is. But anywho, you're already here, and I'm already grateful that you're here. So let's head back over to localhost 8080. Right, and then we're just going to wait for it to load. Right. If yours is faster, feel free to sign in, and I'll go ahead and sign in. So test.liferay.com. Password is test as well. All right, we're going to be adding a documents and media application onto the page. So clicking on the plus button over here on the right hand side, waiting for the add menu to finish rendering or finish showing up. And then in the search bar, to make our lives easier, I'll start typing document. So these two here are the same, so if you want to add the top or the bottom, completely up to you. So I'll add the top one here, the documents and media, then adding it to the page. And there we go. So documents and media, we're going to take our mouse cursor and move it into the documents and media, revealing that title bar there. From here, go ahead and click on the plus button that lines up with the documents and media, and then we're going to select folder. So adding a folder here. All right, and then for the name, let's give this any name you want, my folder. And then we'll go ahead and click save. Right, so our request completed successfully. I'm going to head back over to Developer Studio, and let's take a peek. Let's take a gander here. Right, did not look like it printed out. The command that we're listening for is edit folder. So let's go ahead and try that as well. Right, if it doesn't work there, then we'll see what we can do. So I have my folder here. I'll go ahead and click on it within the documents and media. All right, I'm looking for an options button to edit it, and it looks like it's not coming through. All right, let's try this a different way. Let's head over to the menu over here, and then from the menu, we're going to head to the content section. So expand out the site section if it isn't already, followed by content, and then documents and media. Right, so loading up the documents and media. Right, it looks pretty similar, doesn't it? From here, you'll see the 3 button, or the options button, that lines up with the folder that you created. Go ahead and click it, select edit, and then go ahead and edit the folder name to whatever you want. My folder name, part 2. Okay, and then we'll click save. Once we click save on our edit, let's head back over, and still no dice. Let's try this again. All right, so a couple of debugging things. I'm going to make sure everything is saved. All right, and then let's try this again. So everything is saved. I did do my Gradle refreshes. In the console, we'll check the telnet LB, and it should be at the bottom. It should be active, but let's confirm. You know what happened? I know what I did wrong. So this was my mistake. I'm sorry. So the thing that I did wrong is within the property here. Since I was referencing a class, it's picking it up as a string. So that's my fault. That's my bad. So let me try this again. So we're going to be adding these properties here. Okay. I'll go ahead and touch this up. Okay. And then we'll do this for the last one here. Rookie mistake. Should have known better. Should have known better. Right, so hopefully you caught it before I did. Right, and you have already remedied this. But if not, that's okay. All right, so we have an error on the DL portlet keys. Liferay is having issues with this variable. It cannot find it. What we need to do is add our dependency for the DL portlet keys. So again, you would head over to Liferay's Nexus server or Nexus repo, and then search for DL portlet keys to find where is DL portlet keys. Right? You can then scour Maven repo or Maven Central to find that specific dependency. But again, to make it easier, I'll go ahead and head over to build.gradle, and then we can add the dependency that we need. So beginning part is always going to be the same. This is a compile only dependency. Over here, the group name is com.liferay, and then the name or the actual name is going to be com.liferay document library API. And then the version number here is 3.3.0. So 3.3.0, golden rule, right? Treat others the way you would like to be treated, or always perform your Gradle refresh. All right. So once we have that, I'll head over to my Java class once again. Control-Shift-O brings in the DL portlet keys. We'll go ahead and save, and then we'll deploy one more time. All right, so if you didn't get enough debugging from earlier, right, we have a little bit more debugging as well. All right, so build is successful. We're going to wait for the refresh to come through. All right, so there's that refresh. Let's head back over to our Liferay instance, and we can try this again. So I'll head over to the main page to create a folder. So moving my mouse cursor into the documents and media, we're going to go ahead and click on that plus button one more time, clicking on folder, and then just creating a new folder. We can call this whatever it is that we want, and then let's go ahead and save. Once we save, I'll head back over to Developer Studio, and it's still not coming through. So let me try this one more time. Into Documents and Media. All right, and then we can go ahead and edit this. Once we edit, save. Let's see if it's the edit specifically. Nope. Let me go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, so last thing we need to do here is add the service ranking. So that was my fault. We need to add the service ranking so that our MVC command is also picked up. All right, so let's go ahead and add our service ranking here. I'll go ahead and save and then deploy. All right, so it's deployed. Let's go ahead, and it should work this time. Right, so let's head back over to the documents in media. Right, I'll go ahead and create a new folder here. I've already created a couple testing this out. Let's go ahead and try one more. Click save. Head over, check the console, and there it is. Right, so appreciate your patience and sticking through. Right, we have now seen how we're able to override an MVC command.